which is the process flow for referrals of the SIU matters. And I do believe that the committee was particularly interested in that issue. So how does this referral process work to NPA and to DPCI? But on...
Sorry, Chair, just so that just to mention, we have a number of slides, but we will not be going in detail with all of them. We will skip through some of the slides. We don't have a separate presentation, but it is a number of slides, but we won't go through all of them. Thank you.
So on slide number 8...
Sorry, let me just... see, this is the 60-page presentation in total, right? Or is it... I just want to be... It is.
55,
okay.
Thereabouts.
Just for the members to get a sense. Okay, all right.
It is one
we will summarize, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, don't rush yourself. We're still in good time. The point I'm making is that there is really lots of slides. Sure.
So on slide number 8, measures to enhance prosecutions. We talk about some of the structural arrangements that we have put in place, which are important when you work as different agencies on investigations, and the prosecuting authority has to prosecute. And so we list some of the issues on the slide. You will see some of the national structures that have been put in place. General Abeya spoke about the NPCOC. It's the National Priority Crimes Operational Committee, and that committee is critical because that is where we at a national level, across law enforcement, are able to focus our work and our resources on priority investigations, which of course leads to our prosecutions. So for example, when we talk about the FATF grey listing, and the cases that we have to manage for the purposes of our international obligations, those matters are also then located in the discussions that we have at the National Priority Operational Committee, including the serious corruption work, and the SIU work is part and parcel of the serious corruption work and serious commercial work. And so what have we done?
Sorry, may I ask, if you don't mind, it's a request for you to expand on a particular thing that for you might be familiar and you've said it quickly. So you've spoken about the relationship with grey listing by the Financial Action Task Force. Can you just expand on that and give a bit more context on where prosecutions become relevant to the grey listing and what the grey listing is?
So thank you very much for that question, Chair. So there is a strategic action item on the action plan that's been developed for South Africa with the FATF. There's an action item that speaks to what they refer to as serious complex money laundering investigations and prosecutions. And then they want to see particular features of that. And so they indicate, in that context, they want to see who are people that are helping the criminals to launder funds, who are professional money launderers, who are professional enablers, and are the cases involving networks of professionals. So our response as law enforcement has been that we have coordinated ourselves very well. So, and then through that coordination, we have identified collectively all of the serious complex money laundering investigations and prosecutions that we have in the country. And so this is just but one part of the FATF grey listing issue. The action plan of the FATF speaks to many other parts, including the financial sector and the supervisory role that the financial sector needs to play within our system. And members of the committee will be reminded that the whole action plan is really about strengthening our response to dealing with money laundering as a country. It's not just about investigations and prosecutions. Investigations and prosecutions only arise if there's a breach within the regulatory environment, or there's a breach within certain aspects of our financial sector, or offences have been committed, and then the proceeds of those offences are then laundered. And that is where the investigations and prosecutions part come in. And so what I'm trying to indicate in this slide, through the National Priority Crimes Committee that General Beyer has spoken about in his presentation, at the national level we coordinate all our priority work across law enforcement. And so these cases that fall within the FATF context would also feature there. But of course, all other cases involving serious priority crimes, like serious corruption, serious commercial crimes, and including serious organized crime. And so some of our illicit mining cases and other priority offences for the country, including gender-based violence, is all dealt with at a national level. And so we get a bird's eye view as the principals of the agencies. We get a bird's eye view of all the work that we need to do, including how we have to allocate our resources and our budget to be able to do that work. So coming back to the SIU referrals then, we speak about the co-location investigators and analysts and prosecutors. So when we work on investigations, we make a decision whether or not that investigation should be project managed, and if it is, and if it should be project, we try to ensure that our investigators and our prosecutors and all of those involved in the particular investigation are able to work together. And so that's what we mean by co-location. So we create spaces for our people to meet and work together. That's the idea. This helps to speed up the investigations, and it also helps to speed up our processes, where we can get to a decision to prosecute and we can get onto a court roll. In the presidency, there is currently an initiative to help us to track the referrals of the SIU, so that there can be a more holistic reporting. We do explain in the presentation, and our Special Director Advocate Kanyani will talk to the process flow issue, but this is a very complicated process flow, because the SIU works off a proclamation made by the President, and that proclamation may lead to multiple referrals, in fact, and multiple investigations. And this has been recognized through the presidency, and the challenge of then reporting appropriately on the work. And so, and as we speak, there's an initiative to develop an electronic case management system. That will help this committee, and it will also help the other committees that have oversight over the work of the police, oversight over the work of the prosecution, like the Justice Portfolio Committee and other committees. So hopefully going into the future, we will have one case management system that helps us to be able to report holistically on all of the work of the SIU. In the slide, we also just explain some of the other...
Sorry, Advocate Tikoko, I just want to ask a housekeeping issue. So everyone goes for bathroom break or whatever. Can I just ask, when we leave, can we just hold the door so that it doesn't bang each time we leave it? Yeah. Sorry, Honorable Nondet, I'm not just talking to you because I know people are going to come in and out. So please, if we can just do that.
All right. So, Chair, we have also, over the last 3 years, over the period that the NDPP has referred to, strengthened our capacity and our capability within the prosecution to be able to deal with this work, the priority work I've referred to. So within our Specialized Commercial Crimes Unit and the Specialized Commercial Crimes Unit within the NPA has the main mandate to prosecute corruption and commercial work. And so in March 2019, we had 259 officials in the unit, 204 legal staff, and we increased that capacity to currently 294 officials and 226 legal staff, meaning prosecutors, as at the end of 2024. And that has been a 14% increase. So the NPA is mindful then of how it needs to allocate its budget towards the priority areas for the country and the priority offences within the country. And this is part of our response, and the numbers indicate that. And of course, as we build the capacity, we also need to build the skills, and we need to then build our capability to be able to do the work. And thus, those partnerships that the NDPP spoke about earlier, sometimes with the private sector, sometimes with other institutions, that also helps us with building our capability to be able to do the work. Chair, I will now hand over to Advocate Kanyani to take us through the process flow slide. It's slide number 6. And she'll also talk a bit more in detail about the work of the SIU. And of course, she has direct oversight over this work and the way that the SIU is set up in the country. In each province, we have an office of the SIU. And in each province, that office is headed up by what we call a regional head. And the bulk of the work for investigations and prosecutions will happen at a provincial level. And each SIU, with other components of the NPA, reports to a director of public prosecutions. So we often hear about the director of public prosecutions in a province. We got to appreciate that the director of public prosecutions in a province has direct oversight in terms of all prosecutions that happen in a particular province. And that director of public prosecution has to report then to the NDPP and to our national office. And so the way we've structured this SIU is that there's a special director that's got similar powers to a director of public prosecution in the provinces. But because this is a priority focus area for the NPA, we have special directors when there is a national priority focus area for the NPA. And that special director works very closely with the directors of public prosecutions, but then is also directly involved with that regional component, in this case, the commercial crimes component, directly involved. So she will give us the process flow, and then she'll also explain the casework that they currently have within this SIU component. Thank you, Advocate Kanyani.
Thank you. Good morning once more. Before I go directly to the process flow, I just want to go to slide 5. Thank you. The Advocate Mutibi, when he spoke, he also explained that in terms of their act, in terms of Section 4 of the SIU Act, once there is, during the investigation, they see that there is evidence that points to possible criminality. It's that point then that they have to refer it to the NPA. And this is why there is a need for this criminal referral. But I want to make this point right at the beginning that it is at an early stage where they suspect criminality that they will refer, which means that at that point, the case is not a case that we could then just take to court. And it's for this reason that to get the case for it to be trial ready, we would then need to give it to our DPCI partners for them to investigate and then get the case to a point where we can put up a case in court. So the process flow also speaks to that in terms of how we do that. And so we need to get to the case where it meets the criminal standard for us to be able to enroll. We can go to slide 6 then. So there was that there's two types of referrals. It could either come, if there's a national interest, the referral from the SIU will come to the national office where it comes to the special director, that would be me. Or if it's not national interest, then they would identify in which region it arises, and then it would go to that particular region. Advocate Dikok alluded that we've got a national footprint as the SCCU. So in each division, in each region, there is a regional head who heads up the SCCU. They would be the person that receives the referral from the SIU. They would receive it in a template that we have formulated together with the SIU and the DPCI. The referral will then have the evidence pack. That evidence pack will then be reviewed by the regional head to see if whether there is, it falls within our mandate or not. If it doesn't fall within our mandate, it will then go to the Director of Public Prosecution for further handling. If it does meet our mandate, they would then say, did we receive everything? If not, that would be received from the SIU. And then once that is received, it's entered into a register, an SIU register. It would then at that point be allocated to a prosecutor.
Sorry, may I ask a clarification question? So I don't want us to get too lost down the track. So you mentioned cases where national interest is involved or something. Can you just explain that? One. Secondly, please explain what you mean by it falls outside our mandate, because to us, you're all prosecutors. So what does this mean?
Yes. So in terms of the mandates, when I say outside the mandate, I mean outside the SCCU mandate. When I say it goes to the DPP, it would be, for instance, where it's not complex commercial crime, where it's not complex corruption. That would then, it's still our mandate. So it's still the NPA mandate, but not the SCCU mandate. So it would go to the Director of Public Prosecution that Advocate Dikok alluded to. So it doesn't get lost in the system. The
national interest.
The national interest. So in some cases, it's very clear that the offenses happened in a specific municipality in Limpopo. Then that would go directly to Limpopo, regional head of the SCCU. In certain instances, the offenses would be such that they span through different jurisdictions. And so this is why I said it would be a national interest and not a regional interest. Then it would come to the head office. Then it would determine which region would be best suited and the approach thereof. So that's just the distinction there. Okay, where was I? So the clerk will then register the case to say, and then you would get a unique reference number. We would then acknowledge to the SIU to say we have received the referral. We use the prosecutor-guided methodology, where from the beginning, when the case is allocated to an advocate, to a prosecutor, they would then plan together with the police counterpart, and a case plan would be crafted. We say you get a case from cradle to grave. So if you get a case, you start it from investigation. You build it up with your investigator. Make a decision to prosecute, it gets enrolled. If there's any appeal to the High Court, that advocate will take it through to the High Court. If it goes to the SCA, so cradle to grave throughout the whole value chain. So if once the advocate is appointed, and also then it goes to the police, we refer it to the DPCI. DPCI will also do the same. They would then appoint an investigator. In other cases, there might already be a docket that is opened at that stage when the referral is made, or a docket will then be opened. Then now you have a team, an investigator and a prosecutor. They would sit, they prepare a case plan. In certain instances, there will be preliminary meetings that happen together with the SIU before the formal, case plan is done. Once that is done, the matter will then be allocated a case, as I said, with the police. A decision would be made, so there would be back and forth, investigations would be completed, all the necessary things would be done. Once that matter is ripe, then a decision will be made, whether to prosecute or not to prosecute. If it's not to prosecute, then that's the end of the matter. If the decision is made to prosecute, then it would be enrolled in court, and it go through all the entire process in court. In other instances, the case might be one that falls within the mandate of IDEC, and then that process will be similar in that instance, that it will be declared, and then it will then go through the same value chain. Okay, so I hope that explains the value chain in terms of how it works. I'm going to go to slide 19. 18. Okay, so yeah, slide 19. Okay. No, he's controlling the thing. Okay, this is just a summary. I'll just speak to that slide then. This is just a summary. We've put in from the register that I referred to. We're able to pull in information from 2019, and that's those are the total numbers. I think I need to explain that you will see that our numbers, the numbers of the SIU and the numbers of the DPCI, all differ. This is because of two main things. One is that we're not reporting for the same period, but also the way the information is captured. So in the slide where we've put in the tracking of complexity of tracking progress, I try and explain that here, yes. So in one proclamation, there'd be one proclamation. So the state president would issue one proclamation. It would be one project for the SIU, and they investigate. As and when they identify criminality, they report. So the number of referrals in one proclamation, for instance, this is a live example in the Department of Rural Development. It was one proclamation, one project. There were 51 referrals received in total relating to this one proclamation. And it related only to 3 matters and 3 properties. In this case, there were 17 suspects that were involved, 3 of which are companies. But in the end, out of these 51 referrals, for us, for the police, there was 1 criminal docket. And for us, there was 1 criminal court case. So most of the referrals would be, as I said, it's a suspicion. They see some evidence pointing to criminality, but then that would not translate to it being a criminal case in court with someone. So that explains also the discrepancy with the numbers in terms of why there would be so many referrals and yet so little prosecutions. So I just want to put that in context so that the members can understand that it's not a one referral, one case, one docket. Yes. All right, we can.
Sorry, can I just ask, because this is important. So I'm going to share with you my understanding of what you're saying, and Advocate Motibi is here, and the understanding is a bit hazy. So please help me. So in fact, let me ask Advocate Motibi first. So, do you refer individuals separately, or you refer, when you do your counting, you refer all the individuals and companies under one proclamation as one? How do you do it out of an investigation?
No, thanks for that question, Honorable Chair. And it does happen that in one proclamation, there's various focus areas. And in one focus area, you may find that there's more than one individual involved, say more than one company. So in that case, if we find that all of these individuals, there's evidence pointing that they committed a criminal offense with regard to that focus area, then our referral would say, this is the focus area we're investigating, and we believe that there's evidence pointing to criminal action with respect to individual 1, 2, 3, company 1, 2, 3, in one referral. It does happen that there's one individual, one company referrals, depending on the investigations evidence. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, let me take this further then. So in other words, when the referrals get to the, I'm trying to get to the point where the number drops. So let me give a scenario. And the scenario is that 5 members of the committee, and I hope it never happens, but let's say 5 members of the committee, in the view of the Special Investigating Unit, have committed criminal acts which warrant.
All right, that's Gopa Chair there, Songezo Zibi, asking clarity-seeking questions before the SIU, the NPA, and the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, that I think we loosely refer to as the Hawks. And they essentially are giving an update to Parliament about progress made in their own investigations. And I think we really are drilling into some of the nuts and bolts of what it takes to see through some of these investigations, ultimately to a point where they are court-ready or trial-ready, as we say, until the point where hopefully there's some kind of conviction or prosecution. And it can get quite complex, but we thought it was important to just stay on this as much as we can to help you get a better sense of the work that actually stands before the NPA as pressure mounts for them to act not only on state capture related cases, but environmental crimes, which we've heard about earlier on today, and so many other cases which involve entities, municipalities, and high-ranking officials in government. And so far, we've really heard the NPA saying that they've strengthened their capabilities in order to do this kind of work. They've spoken about their specialized commercial crimes unit, which has now about 294 officials, up from 259. And what we're hearing now is just the thinking that the NPA goes through when they get matters and they need to decide whether an issue is going to be dealt with by the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, or the NDPP, which is essentially their equivalent at a national level. We are anticipating to hear from the NDPP. That's Shamila Batoyi, who is also amongst those officials in Parliament today. As soon as she starts speaking, we'll hopefully take you back there, get you a sense of just her take as she rounds off really where the NPA is and where they're headed insofar as their investigations brought forward by the SIU.